Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a truly special online event today. It's called Discover the Spiral Codes Method for Deepening Your Intuition. Learn how to clear emotional patterns that distort your intuition for clearer inner guidance. My name is Stephen Dine. I'm the founder and CEO of the Shift Network, and really at the foundation of how I've been able to build the Shift Network is intuition. It really is the most important skill to activate new possibilities for our lives, for our world, for our service, for how to navigate daily life. And today we're going to get to explore a really unique and novel approach to improving your intuition and deepening it with a woman named Deb Sheppard. She's an international psychic medium, spiritual teacher, and speaker. And we're going to learn more about the Spiral Codes method today. And if you get sparked by it today, you're going to have a chance to go much deeper with Deb in the Spiral Codes method for psychic development course that is going to be coming up. And we'll share more about that towards the end of the hour. So, with that said, Deb, thanks so much for joining us today.
Namaste. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you, Stephen. Thank you.
Great. Well, I always like to start our time together with new faculty with a little bit about your backstory and what brought you to the work that you are offering here today. And yeah, particularly focusing in on this sort of the deeper levels of intuition opening up through the Spiral Codes method.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. I grew up in Northern California. My father actually was an elder in a church. I was raised very religiously and actually spoke on the pulpit at a very young age. And I really feel that platform helped me where I am today to help develop into teaching and spirituality. Through that, course of life, I had things that happened that weren't normal in the family. And I would have dreams of things happening. Like I dreamt that Elvis died in the bathroom. I would finish people's sentences. My mom brought that to my attention, and I'm like, what? That's kind of rude, right? But there was no language to kind of develop what was going on in my intuition. At the age of 2, I did drown, and I do believe that probably had an impact on some of my intuition. But I basically had a typical normal life, if whatever you call is normal. And late in my 30s, early 40s, I was at a crossroads, some things that were not happening the way I had predicted them to happen. And I think with most humans, we try to fix it, right? We try to fix the problem so we're not suffering. And a friend of mine told me about feng shui, and I really connected. It was one of those things that just aligned. And when I started learning about feng shui, the issue that I was concerned about didn't really resolve itself the way I intended, but I realized that I could hear people who had passed. I never had the desire to become a psychic or a medium, but it came in real clear. And I reached out to a friend of mine and said, I think your dad's trying to talk to me about some things. The internet was there, but wasn't quite the internet, the Google that we have now. So I went to the library and started doing research and realized that this was a medium. I was a medium. Still didn't know what that meant or what I was supposed to do with it. I was still trying to look at and resolve the issue that I had originally leaned into feng shui. One night, I usually wasn't out at night, but on the radio was a station that I didn't really listen to very often. And she had a psychic on. And I had this feeling that I needed to reach out to this radio station. And when I reached out to the radio station, I talked to a man that actually had worked with John Edward and some other psychics, and he connected me with the DJ that was on that night. Her name is Rashki. And we kind of had this connection back and forth. Nothing really developed, and then 9/11 happened. And she called me. She was actually in Italy, and she called me. She goes, I need you on the radio. And I thought, what am I going to do? I didn't have a business. I wasn't sure if I could do this. And I got on the radio, and I did 52 readings on and off the air in 5 hours. And she looked at me and said, you either can lean into this or you can walk away. This is one of those pivotal moments. And I leaned into it. I was on the radio for 17 years through different radio stations, etc. What I noticed is that People were calling because of their suffering, but there was a pattern to their suffering. There was a pattern that people kept telling their stories, asking for guidance. When I started realizing there was a pattern to their suffering, I realized early on that as spiritual beings, we were having a human experience. We came to Earth. This is school. We came here to learn. And even though that the situations all seemed different, the people seemed different, there was a pattern that we were here to learn. And when I realized that pattern, that's when I started working with what's called soul's contracts and helping people understand their contracts. As we started going there, I realized that there was a pattern there as well, which is how the spiral code method was created or born. I started seeing that we as humans don't learn in a straight pattern. We continually go through these patterns, and we're trying to find out what do those patterns mean. We try to avoid them. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Groundhog Day, but it reminds me very much of what us as humans are trying to understand. When Bill Murray kept having this experience and he had to keep revisiting it over and over and over again until it clicked. And when it clicked, he was realizing the code, what was beneath it all, to learn how do you understand our lessons and then understand what I call as the interference of what we're experiencing as humans. We try to control the narrative. We don't want us to suffer. We don't want suffering, but part of suffering is how we change. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. So we have this consistency and we keep thinking, why does this keep happening to me? And what I like to help people with is there a message there? Is it happening for you versus is it happening to you? And when we learn that these things that are showing up in our life are for a purpose, and we understand all the different layers of them, we can change the way we are learning, the way we're experiencing these challenges that show up in our life. All of a sudden, we have this idea that we're not doing it wrong. We're just learning.
And so in some ways, it sounds like the spiral codes method. The spiral is the tendency, like Bill Murray, to keep repeating the day. And the codes are what we need to discover in order to actually transmute that pattern, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's the key to understanding. It's the key that opens up what is the interference? What is it that's causing the interference? We are born intuitive. What people want to know is, how do I become intuitive? Well, you are, but there's so much interference, we're unable to really listen and understand what the messages mean. An example would be, you're at a restaurant with a friend and they're trying to tell you the story, but there's a baby crying or someone's on their phone or the server comes over and interrupts you. You have all this interference and you're trying to hear your friend. Your friend's telling you something very important, but you can't hear it. So what the spiral code method does is it helps you take out the interference. So I always call it, we put a kink in the hose. How do we truly hear if we have all this interference going on and we cause our interference? Because of our fears, because of our conditioning, the things that's happened to us. So we have to kind of step away and look at what is really happening that's for us versus what's happening to us.
So what I'm hearing is that the spiraling is an attempt to sort of bring something forward that we need to see. And so it manifests as an interference pattern, but underneath there's actually a blessing or a gift, it sounds like.
Absolutely. And I don't think when we're going through our lessons, the challenges, we consider it a gift. But if we're looking for expansion, if we're looking to grow and become more aware and more conscious of what is our purpose, then we're going to have these opportunities that keep showing up. They may look a little bit different, but they're the similar personality traits that show up that end up helping us with our expansion to learn to do it differently. How do we show up in the world? And so many times our ego wants to protect us and not allow us to have the experience because of judgment and shame and all the things that happen on a human level. If we can go into it and go, oh, this is another opportunity, I can lean into it and then find out what the interference is to get the clarity. It's truly about getting clarity because our guides don't stop talking to us. The universe doesn't stop talking to us. We create an interference.
So how do those interference patterns relate to what you were saying before around the soul contracts or sacred contracts that we come in with?
So I believe that before we incarnate, we came here to learn things. We came here to say, I want to learn about self-worth. I want to learn about boundaries, my value, whatever it is that we came to learn. And so we set up the scene to be able to have these experiences. Well, between our childhood and our experiences and things that's happened, our ego and our conditioning starts to say, wait a minute, this is going to bring something negative to your life. And so we try to avoid it. And so we use different energies, or what I call archetypes, to ignore or push away or not lean into it. But if we understand what we're trying to learn, what's the code, when we get that code, we understand we don't have to push it away. We don't have to feel shame, but we can actually embrace it. And it becomes much more energetically acceptable. Go, I'm learning this value contract right now. I'm learning this boundary contract right now. And so instead of having shame around it, we can learn to be vulnerable and learn to use different tools and ideas of how to learn that lesson.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So the archetype is sort of like a little bit like the pattern that something, the groove that something falls into.
Absolutely.
Understanding that groove is sort of key to start to uncover the codes beneath.
Yeah, the archetype, it's been around for a while. I don't know if you're familiar with Carl Jung, but he's he worked with Freud, right? And he broke away and said, okay, these are the archetypes or personality traits that we show up in life. And I know for me, when I show up in different venues of life, I put on a different archetype or energy, how I want to show up. Am I the daughter? Am I the partner? Am I the teacher? What archetype is that? And how do I relate to that? Well, so many times, if we don't have the right tools, we will show up with fear. And our fear is that I don't want anyone to really see me and be vulnerable. I don't want anyone to judge me. And so we may show up as the child or the victim or the prostitute, that people pleaser, and we ignore what's inside. So that's when our intuition is unable to help us. Our intuition can't help us if we're using an archetype that's protecting us versus getting clarity. So for instance, you look a lot younger than I do, Stephen. But when I was growing up, we had an antenna on the roof and we had rabbit ears on our TV. And the signal was always there. But if there was wind or someone bumped the TV or it was rain, you could not get the signal. So there was interference. And we do the same thing when we want to control a narrative. When we want to have things a certain way, we want to control it versus understanding these lessons keep showing up for us to expand and grow and heal versus avoiding it or pushing it away or having a different way of leaning into it.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit about how you start to dissolve or dissipate that interference pattern.
Right. It's really understanding, first of all, your contracts. It's going in and looking at the patterns. And at first, when we look at the patterns, we're like, I signed up for this? Seriously? Because we can't believe that we signed up to be abandoned or we signed up to be judged. But all of that is about here to learn that it's okay to have those things happen to us. If we're abandoned, it doesn't change our worth or value. But if we show up as the prostitute or the people pleaser, we never truly become who we're supposed to be. What we do is we try to help other people see us in a different way. So that interference doesn't allow us to expand our consciousness. So the lesson will keep coming until we eventually go, you know what? That's not working anymore. And so we begin to shed certain archetypes or energies to be able to lean into that without us projecting things that are really not who we are, and being okay with judgment.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to give some examples of people that you've worked with and kind of working through the spiral codes process with them around a particular pattern, interference pattern?
Well, I've worked with thousands, but which is an honor, because when people start really discovering their lessons and their archetypes and how they're managing it, they have a whole new way of envisioning how to make these changes and how to change it. In a lot of cases, especially with women, there's so much judgment and so much about value. And so in certain situations, it's teaching women how to embody or empower yourself and not letting other people's opinions define who you are. And I think that's a common theme for especially women. And I know it affects men as well, but my biggest audience, I talk to is primarily women. The examples are when people start telling you who they think you should be or what you should be. I know for me growing up, there was this expectation through my life of what I was, what I should be or what I should be doing and what my choices were. And I decided to abandon those ideas. And I think for a lot of individuals, we abandon ourselves. And so part of this process is learning not to abandon you, to allow yourself to have that voice, to be able to say, this isn't working for me, or I want more, or I don't want to be what you need right now, and be able to take care of yourself. And women especially have this tendency to abandon ourselves first. We betray ourselves first. And so when we start leaning into this process, they start realizing how much they've abandoned themselves over the years and how frustrated they've been that they have not allowed people to see their value and worth because they kept putting everyone first. We're programmed at a very early age as women. We have baby dolls in kitchens. We're told to nurture and take care of and to put our needs last. And so how do we rewrite that programming that we've had to say, wait a minute, it's okay. It's okay to be a priority.
Mm-hmm. In the case of self-abandonment like that, what might be a soul contract behind that recurring pattern, that looping spiral that might be hold the core codes to sort
Yeah.
of
The primary contract there would be abandonment, but the one that's most important is unconditional love, and how to understand what unconditional love means. And I think judgment can be a big one. We can go into judging ourselves, not being enough or not being good enough. So abandonment is feeling abandoned by your family, feeling abandoned by your community, feeling abandoned in your friendships, things like that. And so how do we then realize that that abandonment doesn't create your value? That's a contract. And when we understand the contract, then we stop abandoning ourselves. And when we stop abandoning ourselves, it begins to, the ripple effect, we begin changing how we show up in life, because all of a sudden we're not abandoning ourselves. The law of attraction is if I keep abandoning myself, then the law of attraction is people are going to abandon me. But if I change that and stop abandoning myself and start realizing I do have worth, value, I have a voice, then the universe, the manifestation is, then the universe stops abandoning you, because our energy affects the universe. It affects manifesting, it affects everything. So if we stop doing some of these things that we have been doing and we change our energy vibration, then the universe responds. The universe responds to our energy. So it's changing the way we see things. It's having, I always call it another viewpoint. It's a prism. It's having another view of the prism. If we keep turning that prism, we can see life differently. But what we do is we see life of how we were raised and from our experiences that created fear. If we've abandoned ourselves or judged ourselves, the universe will keep bringing those things to us to have an opportunity to change it, to do it differently.
Mm-hmm. That's very illuminating. Yeah, so I think now would be a great time to give people a little taste of how this work unfolds, and to take people on a little bit of an experience as well.
Sure, absolutely. I think a lot of people struggle with meditation, and part of it is meditation. People have these ideas of what it's supposed to look like, versus sometimes it's just being present and being aware of where you are and what you're feeling. So what I want to do is have everyone just get into this place of just being able to be present and taking those deep breaths. Our bodies, we're such a society of fast pace. Let it arrive now and get it done. And when we take that time to be present and breathe, our body can start regulating. It can start finding that sense of peace where we go within and we can feel our body. I know some people, I call them the athlete, where they've learned to cut off their feelings from the neck down to push through things. So many times people are that warrior, they just keep pushing through and they don't know even how to feel their body. So in the next few minutes, I just want everyone to take some deep breaths, inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds, and just do that like for 3 or 4 times. And when we do that, to allow your body to just feel the chair beneath you, the sofa, whatever you're sitting on, and just let it, envelop you and just feel your body. As you do that, take those moments and just close your eyes. Sense your fingers and your toes and all of your senses. And with each breath, allow your body to relax even more. Then take this moment and think about something in your life. It doesn't have to be a big moment. It doesn't have to be something right now. But think about something in your life that pops in, something that has been a challenge in your life. Maybe there's something at work or something with a family member or something in life that, is right at the surface. And when you breathe into it, think about that. What is that about? And then notice where you feel that in your body. As you feel that in your body, is it a lot of fear? Does your body tighten up thinking about it? And as you take another deep breath, what do you think your body's trying to tell you with this experience? What is it telling you? Listen without trying to fix it. Listen without trying to resolve it. Listen to just hear what your body is saying. Is it to have more patience? Is it to slow down? Is it to trust? To trust you're in the right place at the right time? Are you allowing your soul to feel that experience? Because when you want to fix it, you're not listening. What is it trying to tell you? Does your body realize, without a doubt, it has wisdom, deep wisdom? And when we allow ourselves not to be in fear or into control, our body goes, yes. So take another deep breath, become present, and realize that your body is just trying to communicate with you. But what our mind tries to do is fix it. So when you open your eyes, think about this. If you try not to fix it, what does that leave you with? It's to understand the experience, to what is the code, what's beneath it? What is the code? What is the key that can open up what is happening to you? It's a gift. And if we see these experiences as gifts from the universe versus negativity, these things that are happening to us, we begin to find some peace. We begin to have these connections with our guides, with the universe. The universe never stopped speaking to you. Never. It didn't stop. The universe doesn't go, yeah, I'm going to be out of here for a while. The universe is always there. Your guides are there. Your loved ones are there. When we try to control the narrative, we're not going to hear it. That's the interference that we get. So that's allowing us to feel our heart and to take out some of the I'm going to use the word drama that we put in our everyday life. We have chaos. We cause chaos. Our intuition does not align with us with chaos. It helps us to understand that when we sit back and say, why, what is the message here? What am I here to learn? The guides can come in and give us that guidance. I think the biggest thing is really learning about what our ego does. We're born without actually an ego. And over time, our ego comes in and its job is to protect us. That's it. That's what our ego is to do, is to protect us. It's not here to hurt us. It's here to protect us. But unfortunately, the ego can get too big. It doesn't mean we're egotistical. The ego likes to interfere with whatever situations come up, and what we're trying to do with the spiral code method is to quiet that ego and look at the lesson and the archetype and what we're trying to do to expand. That's what this is to expand. It's not to solve the problem. It's for expansion of consciousness. And when we're able to expand our consciousness, awareness shows up in such a beautiful way. And then we're aware of these lessons that keep coming into us. And then we have the code to look beneath it to figure out what it is that we can do to heal it, to understand it, to get the clarity.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you. That was really illuminating. How do you recommend sort of working with whatever arose in terms of the patterns people were working with?
What arises is interesting. I think for a lot of people, what I've seen over all the years is we want to protect ourselves. We don't feel safe. And the universe is not here to create us to be unsafe. When we contracted, if we go back to understanding that we came here to learn, school, Earth is a school for souls to come and learn. And when we decided to come here and learn these lessons, it wasn't to create unsafety. It was to create an opportunity for us to expand our consciousness and awareness, to elevate our souls to the next level. So when we go into feeling those emotions, it's learning what comes up first of all. What are we trying to control? What outcome is it that we're looking for? If we can sit back and go, what am I learning from this? What am I supposed to gain from this? How can I do it differently? How can I be okay with what's happening? What's wrong with being vulnerable? And as we begin to ask ourselves other questions from what am I learning versus how to fix it, it completely changes the outcome for people, because all of a sudden they feel empowered versus feeling it's happening to them. They're not feeling like the victim anymore. They're realizing that they have tools and insights to see the situation completely different. And their intuition is heightened because they created this better connection with their guides in the universe. Before it was all about control, and now it's about trust. And when we can trust the process, amazing things happen. And I know as a psychic and a medium, I have to trust 100% what is coming through, whether the client agrees or not. And so it's trusting what's coming through, and I'm clearing out the interference. And what happens is the interference is just what we wish to happen, or where our fears are, or our wounds that we've never healed. Part of what I teach is we're excavating to find the wounds. When we find the wounds and heal them, there's less interference for us to connect with the universe. So your intuition is there. This is all about getting clarity in your intuition, being better at it, trusting it, being able to know without a doubt it comes in and shows up, because there isn't the static feeling of control.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's taken off the table, all of a sudden, your guides are there going, finally you fix that.
Mm. Well, it sounds, yeah, control seems to be one of the biggest interference patterns because it's reducing the surrender to something moving through.
Yes.
I want to ask about the guides, and you've referenced them a couple times, and just your experience of like how to sort of build those channels of communication so they're really reliable and your intuition is even more accurate as a result of that bond.
Well, I think this is what I believe, and I never tell anyone to believe the way I do, but I always say if it's not working for you, question your belief system and try to figure out what is your truth. My guides are never my loved ones, but I know that they change over time. And part of it is having a relationship with them that you can trust and you build upon. And your guides aren't there to give you the lottery numbers or to, you know, try to make things happen the way you want. Your guides are there to really help guide you and be there to give you ways to navigate this life. And it's to trust them. What I learn in teaching is people still want to do it their way, and they feel like doing it their way is best. And I've had to learn that my guides have a better plan. They're wiser than I am.
Hmm.
I do believe our guides have been on the earth plane and they've evolved to a place and experienced a lot of these things to be in a place to be able to help us. But there's no judgment from them. We judge ourselves. So that relationship is built on learning what they're capable of doing, and they're here to help us navigate things, not control the outcome.
Hmm. So when anything that you want to share about soul contracts as well, and really like why we set those up and some of the understandings of how that's part of sometimes a multiple lifetime perspective?
Sure. I know that everyone doesn't believe in reincarnation. I do. I believe that we come here to learn. I believe this is a school system. I believe that before we incarnate, we have what's called soul groups. And those soul groups are people that we've had lifetimes with. It could be our parents, our siblings, our partners, our children, many different people. And I believe that we exchange the ability to be teachers and students in each lifetime. So sometimes when we have someone that is our teacher in this lifetime that's caused us some suffering, perhaps we were their teacher in a previous lifetime. And I don't believe in karma. I believe more in dharma, that we exchange these energy of, you helped me last lifetime, I'm going to help you this lifetime. So it comes from love, unconditional love. And I do believe that we come here to understand truly what unconditional love is. And I also think that we're here to heal our suffering and the unintentional suffering that we've caused others. I don't think we realize suffering that we've caused. And so it's not karma or being punished, but to get clarity around that, to have a direct access to who we truly are as souls, because our body is designed to die, not our souls. Our souls are here to continue its energy. So these contracts are designed for us to come here and experience expansion and awareness. And can we learn on other levels? Yeah, but Earth is tough. This is a tough school.
Mm-hmm.
This is not an easy school system. And just like when we send our kids to school, they continue to go to different grades for evolution, for their lives to evolve. And it's the same with us. We have these different lessons that we continue to learn at a deeper level each time. And each time we take that lesson to a deeper level, we expand in our awareness and we become the spiritual soul that we came to want to be, those
Mm-hmm.
lessons. And I don't think everyone wants to learn them. I think some people, I think there's, I think contracts are also broken. Not every contract is here. I think sometimes these are hard lessons.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like the awareness piece is really central to really taking that soul level perspective in whatever challenges we're facing. It sounds like that cultivating that sense of kind of a meta awareness is really important.
Think of it as if someone is allergic to peanuts, right? Very common. Your awareness, you're going to be on top of it. You're going to be aware. I'm allergic to peanuts. Is there any peanut oil? Is there peanuts in there? So you're going to be aware. You're going to be a little vigilant. So when you're learning your contract, when you go in and learn your contract, you're aware, then becomes a little bit more vigilant, not hyper vigilant, but more vigilant. Oh, this is what's happening. So now I can take those tools and learn them versus my old patterns of protection and rejection and pushing back. That's an interference. Like, I don't want to go down there again. And we see it with people that maybe been hurt from love. I never want to fall in love again. I don't want to get married again. Instead, when we pivot that and we have another perspective, we go, what was I learning from that relationship? How can I do it differently? What was it teaching me? Why did I know? And so many times we have this gut feeling, but we ignore it. we do. We're, as humans, we ignore things. And so it's helping us go back and remember that our intuition has always been there, but we block it because of certain experiences in our life. So it's helping us understand that our awareness is, guess what? I'm learning judgment again in my life. And as judgment comes up, how am I going to respond differently this time than I have in the past? Because judgment you're going to deal with for the rest of your life. I've had it from day one and I'm still dealing with judgment. So it doesn't go away, but I respond differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't beat myself up. I'm still kind to myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I remember Ram Dass said something like, none of our ego patterns ever go away, but instead of being monsters, they kind of turn into little schmooze, and
Yeah.
you just have a hello, a little, you know,
Oh, I love Ram
yeah,
Dass. I'm glad
whatever.
you brought him up. He's one of my favorites. Exactly. He was very willing to be vulnerable and tell people where he was in life. But we're taught, don't hang your laundry out. Don't tell people. Keep this behind closed doors. Don't, we're shamed. Don't shame the family. Whatever it is, we're taught that. And so we're programmed, we're conditioned to believe not to be vulnerable
Mm.
instead. So Ram Dass is a great example of being vulnerable. He told his stories. He was very raw. He learned to be. He allowed people, by his example, to be vulnerable, to teach other people it was okay to be vulnerable, to be judged, to be abandoned, to be whatever. He was a great leader for that.
Mm. Beautiful. Well, we definitely share that assessment and love him. So let's talk about your upcoming course because I think it's such a great opportunity for people to learn everything that you've developed and cultivated as a psychic medium, and really developing this skill set so that the intuition is clear and our guidance is really refined in how we address life. And so Deb has agreed to teach this brand new course for Shift, which mentioned before. It is called the Spiral Codes Method for Psychic Development. Decode your sacred contracts and release fear-based patterns to enhance your intuition. You can find it at the URL spiralcodes.com. This is a 7-week program. There are no prerequisites. And Deb, I'd love for you to share some of your intentions for what people will come away with.
Oh, yeah. My intention for you to find a new language. The 7 weeks is to go through contracts, archetypes, what these things are teaching you, how to be able to respond to things in a much more beautiful way, to realize that these things aren't happening to you, but they're happening for you. And when we're able to go in and learn that language and what's beneath the surface, because I think we're in a society today that it's drive through, I mean, we can get anything delivered to our home within hours. So we're used to that, where this is about really digging in and learning about you, learning about what contracts you signed, being able to understand those patterns that you maybe or may not have seen. Maybe you said, okay, this keeps happening. Why does this keep happening? So you can be able to visit that and dig deeper into it. And then the biggest part of this with the code, so the spirals, how we keep learning these lessons, but the code, it is the key to the awareness of understanding what's our interference. Why are we interfering with this? What are we doing that's causing a disconnect for our intuition? And when we're able to understand how we're creating this interference, we can remove that. And with the tools, you remove that interference and the clarity starts going like, oh, and that's my joy from this, is when people get that aha moment of, oh, it's like it clicks. One of my students said it's like the Legos that finally click in, and you hear that snap. You feel it click in your body. You feel your DNA. You feel your body going, oh, yeah. You begin to remember. You actually begin to remember these contracts, and you're able to see your entire life plan. You're able to see everything that you've done. And then as you move forward, there's less fear, there's less control. Your awareness, your intuition. It isn't about developing your intuition, it's bringing clarity to your intuition. It's
Mm.
allowing you to understand that your intuition is there. You just don't have the clarity. It's got
Mm-hmm.
too much static going on. I think of it as, a ship in the ocean with barnacles, or this thing with barnacles. You have all these things, we're removing them so that you have this clear path to your guides, to your loved ones, so that you can hear and it comes in with clarity without the confusion. It's it's my joy.
Yeah, wonderful description. So let's go in through the modules and give a little preview of what you're going to be doing in each. So module 1 is called Identify Your Sacred Contracts to begin to understand what has been distorting your intuition.
What I start with people and we start talking about contracts, usually people will lean in pretty quickly and go, "Oh, that's me." So it's going into these 12 contracts and these lessons, which I'm sure there's more, but this is the ones that I've been working with over the years, could be judgment. So you're going through, have you felt judged as a child? Did your family judge everybody? Now do you judge yourself? It could be the contract of joy. It's really surprising. There's actually a contract of joy, but some people never know how to have joy. There's they're taught or programmed, you can't have your dessert until your plate's clean. You can't take a vacation unless you've worked really hard. So it's that programming that we're looking at. So when we begin learning contracts, it's all about revisiting your past and looking at the certain types of things that kept happening. It could be about your value. Were you not heard or seen? Were you a child that was told, children are seen and not heard? Were you told that what your opinion was not important? What was your family dynamics? What was the religious beliefs that you were taught? We dig into each of those contracts and what they represent and what they could look like in your life so you can identify your personal patterns.
Cool. Module 2 then goes into explore the core lessons affecting how you interpret intuitive guidance.
I think the biggest thing about learning your contracts is understanding the interference that we have with talking to our guides. When a lesson comes up for me, I immediately sometimes go into self-defense. I want to protect myself. I may be the victim. I may show up as the victim, defending myself, feeling like it's someone else's problem or fault that this is happening to me. And so we want to look at what do we do, or how do we show up when the lesson comes into our life again? Because with the spiral, which is really scary because people want to know the straight line. Do I have a pill for this? Just tell me the answer so I can go from point A to point B. And that's not how this works. And if you look at your life, you realize that you've constantly had these patterns show up. And you want to look at how do you show up when the pattern arises? Do you become defensive? Do you try to bury it, ignore it? What is it that you do personally so that you don't get to lean into the lesson?
Module 3 then goes into discern the archetypal roles that become psychic blind spots.
The psychic blind spots. I love that because I think when people say they're very open or, they are intuitive, many times we still become we have the blinders on. We look at an end result. We want to know, we go into something and we want to know how to fix it. And so we're looking for the controlled outcome. But we don't look at the process. The process has so much value to all of it. I know that when I started learning feng shui, I just wanted to fix the problem. But what it did is it led me into understanding that I was a medium and a psychic and that I could teach. But if I wanted to control it, I would have had these blinders on and not leaned into the things that were happening with me, things that were going on. I would wanted to control it versus investigate, become curious. And I think so many times we don't become curious, so we don't open up those blinders. We can't hear. We want our guides to say this particular thing. Over the years of doing, they calculated 60 to 70,000 readings, people want to know the solution, but they don't understand the reason they're going. But if we understand the reason, then we can align ourselves with the lesson versus trying to avoid it and escape it. And that escaping is addiction. We all escape because we don't want to deal with it. I just want to escape. So how do our guides communicate with us if we're escaping the problem?
Makes total sense. Module 4 then goes into map your energetic loop so you can see your patterns in real time.
In real time. What's happening now, right? I do believe that our lessons are coming all the time. And with that said, our intuition is there all the time. They're trying to help us navigate that. But we get into a rut. We get into a place of not wanting to dig in. We want to avoid. We just want the final outcome. And it's all part of participating in our life in a different way, to be able to show up and go, oh, okay, this is what happened with my boss. This is what happened with my parent. This is what happened with, and you're able to really dig into what you're learning by just understanding their patterns, how they're showing up, and then what are you doing with it? How does it feel in your body?
And we go into module 5, interrupt your patterns to enjoy your life instead of feeling confined by your archetype.
Disruptor. Sometimes the disruptor can be really a difficult person. I always have them in a class, that disruptor. But the disruptor helps us when we can disrupt our life and take a pause and sit back and go, again, the question, is it happening for me or to me? But if you say it's happening to you, you're showing up as the victim, the child, the martyr, all these things, these archetypes that are not going to be serving you. That's the ego protector. But if you lean into it and say, okay, what is this lesson? What am I supposed to learn from this? And this is happening for me. Your whole vibe changes, and your guides get to come in and go, I have a secret for you. This is what's beneath the surface. That's the code to give you the direct access to what you're learning. And then it becomes easier because you're understanding you're not doing it wrong. I think we keep thinking I'm doing something wrong because this keeps happening to me versus no, it's happening because you're learning something. This is school. You're at school right now. What do you want to learn?
Great. Then module 6 goes into clearing the channel to release the energetic blocks you're carrying because of guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame. Love those. Guilt and shame. Our society is developed to help shame and guilt people. From early on, we are shamed and guilt. And so that pattern is within us, which is why we use these archetypes to not have shame and guilt. We try to avoid shame and guilt, of course. And shame and guilt is a lower vibration. When we go into love and gratitude, that raises our vibration, our consciousness. So if we want to manifest, if we want to be able to experience life differently, then we get out of the shame and guilt. So we begin to start having self-love. Imagine that. All the things that the Shift Network has, and all the books that are out there are teaching us to have self-love, to have patience, to give ourselves the opportunity for expansion and learning. We're expecting perfection from ourselves. We're human. There is nothing perfect about us. So when we begin to learn and accept that we are just students here on this earth learning, that begins to disrupt our pattern. Like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to do it this way anymore. So we make these conscious efforts to realize what we're thinking. I even have people wear rubber bands to snap when they are in that negative talk, because we don't realize how much we do that. We are trained on a very deep level at a very young age. We're conditioned to believe in shame and guilt. And it's how we're controlled by society is shame and guilt. So when we can break free of that, when we can disrupt that and say, wait a minute, that's not shame and guilt. This is about, I'm learning. These aren't faults that I have. I'm here for expansion. Again, it's seeing the prism in a whole new way and learning that you are much more valuable and worth than what others have told you along the way, because they were your teachers. Their job was to make you feel shame and guilt. Your job is not to believe in the shame and guilt.
Much more empowering perspective there. Yeah. Then we go into module 7, track your patterns to continue living the spiral in everyday life.
When people begin to learn the language here of the code and the lessons, they're able to see the spiral. They're able to see very easily what's happening, because now they're aware of it. It's like I said, if you're allergic to something, you avoid it. If there's a person in your life that drives you crazy, you try all you can to avoid it. But if they're part of your life, you find a way to adapt. So when you start recognizing these patterns, it's right there. It's remembering before you incarnated. This isn't something that isn't within you. You're remembering before you incarnated all these things. This the spiral code and contracts, I'm just reminding you why you're here. I'm
Mhm.
having you remember why you're here. And when people start getting it, it's not about me teaching them. They remember and they're like, oh, yeah, I do remember. And that's where you see their intuition, because their intuition now is working with their lesson. They're not trying to shame and guilt themselves or hide. What they're now trying to do is lean into it with a different archetype, a different energy. And
Mm.
that's really beautiful.
All right. Well, what a great program. Thank you for creating it, Deb. And again, there's all the details for folks out there at spiralcodes.com. I'll share a little bit more about it. So not only do you get the 7 90-minute live sessions that Deb has just described, which are a great time to do practices together and ask your questions live, and also just create a group field for learning. You also get recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as transcripts. It'll enable you to go back and really take in whatever you missed and relearn it and repractice. And then you also have weekly practices and exercise for home, as well as a community group to support you and deepen your experience. And on the page, you'll also see Deb's been very generous with extra bonuses. There is a PDF guide called the Spiral Method Pattern Mapping Workbook. Want to share more about that?
The way it was designed is a version for the Shift Network so that we can go through these 7 weeks and dig into each of the contracts individually, and people have it in writing. People learn differently. So it's giving people the opportunity to read it, to hear it, to write it, and all those things that can come together for them to see their patterns.
And then next up, we have another PDF guide. It's called the Archetyping and Core Lesson Quick Reference Guide. Want to share more about that?
I think when people start understanding their archetype, it's really fun to watch. When people start realizing, oh, I'm the prostitute, or I'm the victim, or the martyr, they own it without shame and guilt. So when you brought up shame and guilt, what we do is take the shame and guilt out of it so
Mm,
that you can more understand how you're showing up and to actually witness how other people show up so you know how to respond. But the beautiful part is it's not shame and guilt when we look at these archetypes. It's to say, do I want to show up this way in my life, or can I do it differently?
mm. What a great extra bonus. And then there's a special bonus that folks get if you sign up by midnight tonight Pacific time. This gives you an extra reason to really go to the page at spiralcodes.com and tune in with your inner knowing. And if you choose to move forward today, you're going to get a special Zoom event, which is a live group mediumship and intuitive reading, which sounds like a real specialty, Deb. So we want to share more about that live Zoom event.
I love being the messenger. And what I'm teaching in this program is learning how to trust and surrender. That's one of the hardest things. But to be able to give you guidance from your loved ones and your guides, to have that opportunity is really a beautiful gift for yourself, to give to yourself, to be able to hear from the other side. And I'm honored to do it. I'm always grateful.
Mm. Was a great extra reason to sign up right away to get that live group mediumship and intuitive reading, which I'm sure will be incredibly fruitful for everybody who participates. So this is clearly going to be such a profound program, and we're very excited to offer it to you. We've kept the investment very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128. You can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start July 8th and run Wednesdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community. There's some great testimonials on the page you can read at spiralcodes.com about Deb's guidance and teaching and her abilities. And so you're in really good hands, and you will come away with some really deepened skills and a more clear channel to reduce the interference with your deeper intuition. So again, it's all at spiralcodes.com. And again, you will get that live group mediumship and intuitive channeling when you sign up by midnight tonight.
Thank you.
So, Deb, thank you for your time and wisdom and anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering doing your course.
My passion is truly to teach people because it empowers them to be able to connect on their own. We can all go to somebody else to give us guidance, a psychic, a medium, whoever. But when you are able to interpret the information on your own and get that clarity, it is a true gift to your soul.
Hmm. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Deb, so much. And thank you all for joining. I look forward to seeing many of you in Deb's upcoming program. And again, all the details are at spiralcodes.com. The name of the course is the Spiral Codes Method for Psychic Development. Decode your sacred contracts and release fear-based patterns to enhance your intuition. And you will get that special bonus of the live mediumship and intuitive reading when you sign up by midnight tonight. So thank you so much. Many
Thank
blessings.
you. Namaste. Thank you.